Welcome to the place where we learn about and learn from the leaders in our field who are powering human creativity. I am Aaron Dworkin, and this is Arts Engines. Thanks again for joining me here on Arts Engines. Today's guest is Zhang Gao, who serves as professor of violin and founding director of the Master Players Concert Series at the University of Delaware's School of Music. Zhang Gao, welcome to the show. And I have to also share that I am so honored to be able to not just call you a colleague and all of those wonderful things, but also a dear friend, going back to days of Michigan Go Blue. And so it truly is an honor, and I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you, Aaron. It's an honor to be here. It's so great to see you. You know, I always love talking to you. And Go Blue, what a great season so far we have.
Right, exactly. So I thought I'd start out, there's some incredible things that you're working on, especially a major project that I want to get to. But before that, I was just wondering if you could share for our audience kind of what is the scope of work that you're doing at the University of Delaware, and especially kind of the Master Players Concert Series.
Yes, so I'm the artistic director, a founding director of the series. I founded back in 2004. So I direct the series. I have a team of staff, wonderful staff, and I teach performing art management here. And I teach only 2 or 3 graduate students who are interested in performing art management, because that's where I belong. And so basically I'm a presenter, but I keep a performing career with my 6-wire ensemble, which is a crossover trio that we perform internationally. And I'm very honored to be here. This is the alma mater of our president.
Absolutely. So very exciting. And so basically you're a presenter, you're a producer, you're a composer, pedagogue, but also, right, you're an extraordinary, as I know personally, an extraordinary violin soloist. And so I was just wondering, kind of in terms of, right, there's a lot of both people who are working in this field and also young people who are watching the show who are trying to think about, should I go performance? Should I go kind of more artist management? How should I be viewing my career? Just wondering if you could kind of share just briefly, how do you see yourself, and why have you kind of gone into so many of these additional areas in addition to your violin performing?
Absolutely. The first thing I could say is that what a great question. I think if I were 18 or 19, I think about this often, Aaron. I think looking back, music is a fair business. It's a very, very fair business, if you ask me. I think it's very, very tough, but a lot of people might not understand music. The space in music is so endless, and there's so many different ways of making music. Look what you do. It's so amazing and inspiring what you have done. And so I went to an interview at the University of Delaware in 2000, and this is after I graduated from Michigan. And I saw the football helmet that looks just like ours, because the only 2 teams in the country with the same design. One of our past coaches at Delaware came from Michigan, and then blue and gold on campus. I thought, okay, this is my next job. This is my first job, and then my first day of teaching was the morning of 9/11. That is the day I changed my career path, because prior to that, my goal was, I want to be the next Isaac Stern. I want to just play another gig, another concerto. Can I get a New York Philharmonic debut? That day, I decided music needs to serve a much bigger purpose, must promote a much greater good. And so I decided I wanted to become a presenter, to create opportunities for music to be interpreted in a way that could really reach out to more people, more diverse audience, and also connect peoples of many different cultures. And I've always been a composer. I'm not very good, and I'm a songwriter, but I enjoy it tremendously. So I started creating musical theater productions, and then new music, chamber music, and I established a lot of projects that promote especially East and West. So that is pretty much my entire career as a presenter performer, that I focus on bringing the East and West closer. And so at the university, this concert series, I also want you to know, in addition to the football helmet. I'm a big fan of the UMS organization in Ann Arbor. So I established a small U of M. I'm the small Kent Fisher at the time. And I'm so inspired, and I still follow all of their programming information, and Michael and Matthew. They're just fantastic people. So to answer your question one more time, there's many ways to make music. You and I, the fact we're talking about music, this is a way of making music. So I want the music students out there to know, please, no fear, dive in. Music will treat you fairly.
So this is so extraordinary, and is of course a great segue. You are not just saying these things and saying this is what one should do in our field. You are practicing it and doing it. And one of these extraordinary projects that you have created is Shanghai Sonatas. And so wondering if you could share more about that, because of course it ties together all of these such critically important historical, cultural aspects, and obviously an extraordinary story. So wondering if you could share a little more about what the project's about and how is it coming forward.
Yes. So I have an American family, American parents. I call them my American parents by choice. And they're Rich and Susan Rogel. So they are honored at Michigan for the Cancer Center. They gave an inspiring gift, but they've been treating me as their Chinese son. And so I've always felt this deep connection to American people, to this wonderful father country of mine. You know, I was born and raised in China. That's my mother country. You never forget about your mother, right? I don't necessarily agree with everything people say or the governments do, but I'm an artist. I need to connect the peoples. So, and then America is my father country and gave me great education. Michigan, go blue. What a great education. You know that, right? And then a family, a house, a career, just wonderful environment. But not everybody wants the two countries to be married. But my job as a child of these two parent countries is to promote the cultural understanding and exchange. I went to Shanghai 2017, went to the Shanghai Jewish Refugee Museum. The director told me about the story that I'm about to share with you. That day in June 2017, I decided to create a hybrid musical called Shanghai Sonatas. So Shanghai is where the story took place. Sonatas is a form, but it also shares my inner wish of more than one voice happening at the same time. Sonatas, right? So and then the story behind this new hybrid musical is, in 1939, 20,000 Jews were forced out of Nazi Germany. They gave up everything in return. They were able to leave the country. What they didn't have was a passport. So overnight, imagine, Aaron, you and I, with our family members, entire family, refugees. The developed world came together. Nobody took them. US, Japan, UK, Canada, Australia. Nobody wanted these refugees except Shanghai, China. So they went to the only place that allowed them to enter without a visa. It's a complicated part of history because Japanese occupation army was there. It's chaotic, but they took the opportunity. The local Chinese took them in. Of course, you know, they're good and bad people. There's not always a honeymoon, but the larger picture told me, the history told me that they helped each other. But the more important story behind Shanghai Sonatas is, among the 20,000, there were about 450 classical musicians. And some of them were world-class. They taught the first generation of Chinese classical musicians, serious Chinese classical musicians. I mean, prior to them, there were Russian Jews came to Harbin, but these German, Austrian Jews made a strong impact. But they did it to make money because, you know, that's the only way they could survive. But what they didn't know was 80-some years later, there are millions and millions of classical musicians who look like me, who are of Chinese descent. And so my story connects the dots between these 450 musicians, refugees in Shanghai, and the millions of classical musicians of Chinese descent. Some people say China has like 20, 30 million classical music students. And China is by far the largest market in the history of classical music in terms of number of students, conservatories, venues, concerts. All the major orchestras poured into China prior to the pandemic, and they're going to go back very soon. And the Philadelphia Orchestra was the official ensemble in residence for the National Performing Arts Center in Beijing. So I'm like, oh my God, this is my thing, because I'm a songwriter. I promote cultural understanding. I'm a violinist. and I want to promote classical music. This show is all about the power, the unifying power of classical music that brought two groups of people who had nothing in common together. And I hope classical music could go to India, Pakistan, Africa. I don't care, as long as we could really promote this understanding, so that we could really fight Asian hate, racial violence and genocide, all sorts of things. So now, 5 years later, I didn't program this. During this difficult time, people said, "Did you design this for this difficult time?" I said, "No," at the time. Sorry about my cat. So I said, "This was meant to be." And then now, the good thing about Shanghai Sonatas is being picked up by Broadway producers and being developed right now to become a Broadway show. And I also have a concert production that is touring. We have our world premiere this weekend in Delaware, and then we have another West Coast premiere at the Wallace Edinburgh Performing Arts Center, right in the heart of Hollywood. I'm hoping this can also become a big film one day.
This is just so amazing, and so many things that I think stand out, and especially just that this emanates from your passions and who you are, and this sense that you have of the connection that music has had for you, and how you can utilize it as an architect to impact others. It really is beautiful. What would be the best way if people want to learn more about the project, or, in any way, explore ways they might want to collaborate with you or anything? What would be the best way for people to follow through on that?
Absolutely. Go to Shanghai, or in American English, ShanghaiSonatas.com. I don't want to be Shanghaied. So ShanghaiSonatas.com with an S, and my contact is there. And I love to hear from whoever, because this musical is not about Chinese and Jewish. It has nothing to do with it. It's about human commonality. It's about, I know you're also partially Jewish yourself. When I go outside the United States, this is the face of America. I proudly represent this country. This is the greatest country on earth. But we have so many amazing cultures right in our backyard. Why can't we connect people? Why can't we set this example for the rest of the world? We are true leaders, culturally, economically, politically, whatever. So I feel like people like you and I in the arts, especially in music is so powerful. Music is so, I think beyond words, beyond theater, beyond anything, so universal. We should really take this opportunity. This is our time. I've been waiting for this moment to show the power of our music, because this world without music would go, crazy.
Totally, absolutely. Well, this is so awesome. Unfortunately, we are just about out of time, but I always like to ask of all my guests, this work that you're doing, while it's so filled with passion and there's all of this beauty and impact that comes, there's got to be tough days. And just curious, as a leader and as an arts leader, where do you draw upon for inspiration and for strength during the tough times?
Yes, I have to tell you just quickly that as a concert violinist, I've played with major orchestras. I've played Carnegie Hall, Kennedy Center, big concert tours. The most memorable moments of my violin performance were for people in sickness in hospitals. My dear friend who passed away, I had to play for the funeral. These moments are the most fundamental human experiences for me. So when I created Shanghai Sonatas, I decided if I could really grab onto that goosebump moments that inspired me so much, things will go right. As long as you really stick to the truth and the true beauty of music and the human connection, things will work out. So I think that inspiration is very easy. Just look right in your own world, in your own, backyard.
Zhang Gao, you truly are one of the arts engines who is powering human creativity in our world. Thank you so much for everything you do for our field and for being on the show.
Thank you, Aaron. Go Blue. Bye.